Today we're going to be looking at compliant document generation and assembly with our partner Intelledox. So today, general introduction about Gigworks. We'll look at SharePoint 2013 as an ECM platform in general, sort of out of the box. I'm going to speak to what we mean by full lifecycle content management, and then get into Intelledox, and then show you how the product works. So about Gigworks, the company I founded in 2002. We've been a Gold partner since 2002. We have enjoyed a long and deep relationship with Microsoft over the years. This is more than would meet the eye as it relates to our customers, because a couple of things. One is we've been vetted and validated by Microsoft as being among the best at what we do, frankly, in the country. And but moreover, because of what we do with Microsoft in that relationship, we get all sorts of information and access that, quite frankly, the vast predominance of our competitors do not have privy to. So, for one, we are virtual technology specialists, or otherwise referred to as VTSs, and we do this for the Microsoft New York Enterprise Group. These are the folks who are responsible for the top companies in the town, typically Fortune 50s and 100s. And when those clients request demonstration and advice around SharePoint, we're brought in as those subject matter experts. As VTSs, one of the great things about being a VTS is we actually get access to the resources on the Microsoft intranet. So we have access to all those white papers, et cetera, and so forth. We know everybody back to Redmond. And we have been invited into the Partner Evidence Program now for 3 straight years, well, 3 straight iterations, 07, 2010, and 2013. This means that a full year in advance of the release of the product, we, in point of fact, have access to the earliest iterations and bits therein. Additionally, we've won Best Partner of Type in our region now for the last 4 years, 2010, 11, 12, and 13. Won some other stuff as well. We do have particular industry expertise and focus around architecture and engineering firms, financial services, legal, healthcare, pharma, and professional services in general, although we have a number of notable manufacturers within the mix as well. And in terms of client focus, our clients range anywhere from 100 users to 150,000 users, and while our headquarters are in New York, we do have clients throughout North America, from furthest northwest to Florida and every place in between. So why Gigworks for SharePoint? Well, one of the things I referenced was this advanced information, rather training and information we're privy to from Microsoft. This goes an awful long way to making sure that our guys are way ahead of the curve and among the best and brightest of what they do. Unlike a lot of firms that have, over the last couple of years, gone, oh, SharePoint, we've heard of that. Let's get into that marketplace. We've been working with SharePoint since 2003, and since 2005, it has been the main, if not sole, focus of our firm. And so with that, we've developed a great deal of expertise around the full capability of SharePoint, otherwise referred to as the 6 pillars, as well as the underlying technology across the Microsoft stack required to support SharePoint in the wild, if you will. As it relates to further capabilities and the like with the underlying product of SharePoint, we have partnered with a number of independent solution vendors, ISVs. These are the top folks in the industry, best of breed, all that good stuff, including Intelledox, who we'll look at today, High Software, Nintex, Collabware, a whole nice long list. And this week you'll be seeing Intelledox today, High Software tomorrow, AccuSoft the day after, and Collabware on Friday. Just to discuss very briefly our remaining webcasts, as I mentioned, tomorrow we're going to look at how we're going to secure the document we create today, and we're going to be looking at that with our partner High Software. On Thursday, we're going to redline, redact, markup, et cetera, and so forth. That same content within SharePoint with our partner AccuSoft. And on the last day, on Friday, we're going to look on how to get to a high degree of compliant records management with our partner Collabware. We have a number of other quick starts and offers, SharePoint advisory services where we're sort of guru on hire. A 3-day staging and development workshop, which is extremely popular, if you will. In this, we build a staging environment day 1, go over all the admin and feature functional set of the product on day 2, then have a contextualized workshop hands-on lab on day 3, and particularly those clients of ours who are on 07 and 2010, as they make the leap to 2013, we just found there's a huge amount of benefit for them understanding the differences, the nuances, and the ways to apply the new features to their use cases, and that's something we have particular success with and excel at. We also have offerings around business intelligence, branding, and line of business integration. So as I move along into enterprise content management, I always stop for a moment to talk about the 6 pillars of SharePoint. So content, which is one of the 6 pillars, is what we'll be focusing on today. But one of the real powerful underlying capabilities of SharePoint itself is this notion of pillars, where off of a single platform, you can create enterprise quality solutions around search, around integration to line of business, business intelligence, et cetera, and so forth. And it all rolls up into sites where you aggregate data in the context of a business unit and particular endeavor, et cetera, and so forth. And this interoperability across the various pillars of the product do, in fact, make this a unique product set. And the sum of the parts are greater than the whole. So the example I always give, especially around content management, if you have client name information, et cetera, and so forth, that exists in some ERP system like Great Plains and CRM, et cetera, and so forth, well, Composites allows you to data mine those repositories, make available metadata, et cetera, and so forth, for use as you define content. And of course, now that you have that, you can now search against that content. And within the team site, you can have all this information roll up, everything from team financial statistics to the content itself and the ability to search, as well as the people within communities, all within that site. And this is a real powerful and unique quality of SharePoint. And as we work with our clients, even if they have a relatively narrow scope of what they're trying to do in a particular phase, we do strongly encourage that there be a comprehensive view to their architecture so they can scale and take advantage of these other features as their product matures within the enterprise. So moving right along to enterprise content management, SharePoint's always had some level of ECM capability, and like all of us, reserve the right to improve over time and age. Particularly as you get older, that's kind of a nice thing to think about. But with 2010, SharePoint really made an enormous leap forward as it related to being a mature content management system. It was in 2010 that we got to manage metadata, hierarchical metadata, and retention policies in EDiscovery. And as you would expect and hope for, SharePoint 2013 takes that charge and runs with it downfield, so that in terms of content policy, IA, risk management and compliance, EDiscovery, there have been a number of demonstrable enhancements made around the product. One of which I don't have for a slide here is also the move towards shredded storage. So my IT friends out there, instead of saving a full binary on a version, you're now able to save the delta on a document. So let's say you have major minor versioning turned on, as we recommend everybody should, and you change a font, size, or color. Heretofore, SharePoint would require that the full binary file be saved. Now it just saves the delta, dramatically decreasing the amount of overhead as it relates to storage, which perhaps was the last great bugaboo of SharePoint taking off within the enterprise, and that is soundly resolved. Let me go to my favorite topic, which is retention policies. Retention policies, otherwise known as destruction policies, are key for a couple of reasons. One is helps declutter the environment, lowers administration in terms of obsolescing materials that are no longer relevant to the enterprise or need to be retained. But from a legal protection perspective, getting rid of documents that you don't need to keep go a long way to reduce liability and risk inside the enterprise. So if you have a legal contract or whatever else it may be, you're in financial services or you're in healthcare with HIPAA constraints or PHI, well, the simple fact of the matter is you don't want to hold on to those documents any longer than you want to. And starting in 2010, you're able to establish multi-stage retention policies. So if it's a contract of type and it's a 7-year statutory, 6 years move it to Record Center, 6 years and 11 months later let us know you're going to get rid of it. If you don't hear from us, blow it away, or whatever the rule might be. This notion of retention policies has now been expanded to include Teams sites as well as mailboxes associated with the site, and allows for project closure and expiration policies. So the information that you need to protect the institution from is much more than a document these days, because blogs, wikis, any kind of communication is suspect should EDiscovery be imposed against you. And so again, holding on to things longer than you have to do little more than clutter your environment and expose the institution to considerable risk. And with that, the notion of retention policies has been dramatically improved. Likewise, EDiscovery has further been expanded in terms of its capabilities in the product set. So you have your EDiscovery Portal, but more importantly, there's now support for searching and exporting content from file systems and from Exchange. So this goes a long way to allowing the institution, off of that same initial investment, to have a powerful EDiscovery tool, compliant EDiscovery tool, and the ability to scrape file systems in Exchange is new to the 2013 offering and really, really welcome. So moving along in terms of the webcast, at this juncture, I want to start getting into sort of the meat of the matter, which is the creation of content. And by way of introduction, I'd like to talk to just for a moment this screen where I have this PowerPoint slide up to as to what ISVs are. So SharePoint is a great and powerful product, but there are, like all platform products, there are things that are specific to a particular business unit or industry or need that are well addressed through third parties that increase the return of investment, reduce the risk in terms of support and on custom and all those great things. And we've been doing SharePoint for such a long time that we've got to watch this industry really grow and mature. And with that, we select the best that we believe are in the marketplace. All of our vendors, the code is written in the West, if you will, in the Americas, Western Europe, or Australia, where we do think the quality of code and design is in fact superior. And these ISVs, for our eye and mind, fit into two basic niches, one of which is the expansion of functionality and then the logical overlap of industries. So for those of you who, for instance, produce a lot of paper, be it pharma, legal, financial services, or the AEC, Intelledox is a winner across the board for those of us who have to have a high volume of structured documents go out the door. And so likewise, so this aligns to certainly compliance as well, because compliance, to be compliant, you typically need an audit trail of where the sourcing of information comes from, how timely a fashion it was produced, and Intelledox helps you with that. From a content management perspective, it creates content. And so you can see through this alignment of how ISVs start to fit in neatly into solutions for enterprises with mature needs. In terms of our role, SharePoint, produced by Microsoft, foundation of the house. All the way to the right of that equation is the architect in the GC, that would be Gigworks. And as we work with our clients' needs, we step back and we go, okay, well, we could build you a custom door, or we could go out and buy some Anderson stuff, and what would you like? And so we work with our customers to make sure that for their needs, they're getting the best bang for their buck and the best products that they need to support whatever vision they have for their enterprise. All right, So we're going to kick off into Intelledox, but let me reframe the use case that I mentioned yesterday. So today with Intelledox, we're going to look at least at a statement of advice. And within this cradle-to-grave scenario, what are we talking about? So you need a place to have content to even feed a document, right? So be it an RFP, statement of advice, whatever it is, you're going to have source material. And I think fairly obviously we use Intelledox ourselves to create our own proposals and statements of work. So there's the need to create a document in a governed fashion, in an auditable fashion. And then you need to secure it, then you need to work with it, and then you need to declare it a record. So today we're going to start with Intelledox to create the record that's going to move along this extended demo across the week. So let me go to the other slide. Let me start there. Sorry, I was a little bit out of order. So Intelledox, their product set, Infinity, Australian-based firm, been in business for quite some time. To a great extent, I'll be bold enough to say that the Australian government, at a minimum, runs off of their product set, and they have a lot of very large clients, which I don't know if I'm allowed to mention. I'll let Clinton do that. Anyway, so Australian-based, smart web form, works with SharePoint, lets us export, interact with SharePoint. They have a global, it's a global firm, over 20 years of doing what they're doing, and throughout Asia, Europe, and North America. In the marketplace, apparently these are the guys that they have disclosure with. So AXA Financial, the Australian government, number of notables, and we'll distribute this for you guys post. And let me go back to that initial slide, which was somewhat out of order. So let's go back to the creation of a document. Now, we'll get into the specific demonstration in a moment. But the challenge in today's enterprise is, with data flowing from so many different sources and repositories, I don't care if it's just that you have to have different line of business systems, or even to complicate matters further, especially for our Fortune 500 customers and the like, as a consequence of the number of M&As, we worked with large insurance firms that because of M&As, the underwriting is coming from one system, the actuarial data is coming from something else, legal language and writers are coming from Word documents, and literally you have these documents that go out in great number every day, every week, every year, and are still largely assembled through save as, global find, replace, copy and paste, and this is just not a good situation, right? It's very time consuming, highly prone to error, and if these are documents of any legal merit, how do you actually verify that the source data is correct? Now, in the case of the Infinity server from Intelledox, Infinity we like to really describe as essentially an intelligent piece of middleware that communicates both on the input and output level of these disparate data sources in the ever-continually heterogeneous environment of the modern enterprise. So you may have web forms, stuff stuck in Oracle, SQL, CRM, Word documents, list items, and all that stuff has got to get into a document. Well, Infinity can reach out to all those things in an end-user-driven form, very intuitive to use and as such to also design, and it will pull all this data in and present it where appropriate in a wizard format. So as you click through, you're prompted with the correct information, and it will draw from those sources appropriately. Likewise, it outputs in a similar fashion. So if you were collecting data as part of that intelligent forms generation, we can write back to the database, send it as an email, output it as Word, PDF, or drop into another web system for reconsumption, all in part. Because it's all database driven, you actually have access to the full lineage and history of the creation of those documents, and of course the reuse of templates. So on an efficiency level, this is no small thing. I'm going to bounce around just to annoy everybody, if nothing else. I want to get to this, which is the ROI that this represents. So, if you have a one-off document you produce twice a year, I'm not going to lie to you, there's really not a whole lot of ROI to this. But if you have, in this case, 5,000 letters per month go out from an institution, the savings by the second year is just off the hook. I mean, you're talking about a reduction of 60, 70, 80% of overhead. In my own case, true story, I told it yesterday, I had to get out a major proposal for a major client in the Middle East, and normally that endeavor would take me no less than 9 hours. We banged it out in an hour and a half. It was a 75% reduction, much more accurate. And as we went through it and made edits, we said, oh, we should reuse some of this language. We recapture language right then and there. So a very powerful tool in terms of the ROI. In terms of how Intelledox is used, anything that, again, is paper and process driven. So legal advice, statement of wealth with statement of advice, insurance underwriters, contract generation for our friends in legal, because I have some pretty hefty law firms, and you still see people just pulling up a Word document that their secretary looks at and then does global find, replace, and it's cuckoo. Case management, FDA notifications, just anything you can think of that involves a high degree of transactional development of document. And then in terms of compliance, Intelledox is going to allow you to satisfy SOX, Frank Dodd, PHI type stuff, because it is an auditable process, because inherently you are sourcing data and keeping the chronology and, again, lineage of where that data came from and when. No code, no custom forms, and no version lock-in. So again, we've seen other tools out there that are excessively IT-driven, and what does that really do but just make it excessively IT-driven? We have, or I have, a standard that the key to success on these types of projects is threefold. It's user experience, and user experience. And Intelledox, like all our partners, honor, satisfy, and understand that critical component. And so just one more overview of this in terms of Infinity. It's build, publish, capture, deliver, and again, building forms and documents with embedded rules and logic, business logic, the ability to reuse data that exists throughout the enterprise, and do this in a way that's an automated and controlled process. Publish these things into a myriad of different formats, capture information back to populate and provide information for future document creation, and then send it out in whatever sort of format you need. So in terms of the creation of the document, end-to-end. Went through that. So we're going to look at a couple of use cases. We're going to really start with financial services, and see where we end up. And so with that, I'm going to go over to my demonstration environment. Clinton, I also am going to invite you to stop and make me comment on things that I'm missing. So don't be shy. Yes, my son takes Taekwondo. There we go. Let me move this over. So let me go through what is essentially a finished product, a developed wizard. And I'll even start with this. So we have this demo site. You'll be seeing more of that tomorrow as we look at things like records management, et cetera, and so forth. Let me go to the home page here. And so just by way of introduction, our output lands over here, as it were. And we have different clients and stuff, and you see some test docs that we've been running here as we've been beefing up the environment. But one of the things that's really cool about this, and we're going to be demonstrating for a major bank institution with Intelledox on Friday, is the idea that, again, you can source information all over the place. Now, in our own example, we go, well, we'll have some stuff in CRM and the like, some other data sources, but as it relates to language, Word is where most people work. As it relates to certain terms, list items are the easiest place to keep it. And so we have, in this case, this is for a financial sales process, where an analyst would keep their data sources. And so just good old Word here before we get into the Intelledox thing. You now have the freedom for your end users to go in, your subject matter experts. They can create content. They can maintain that content where they need to. It'd be nice if it opened up for me. That would be glorious. Thank you. And so it's just a simple Word document. You maintain it. What's nice about this, too, is they can go through just a standard sort of approval workflow. Make sure the content's current. We can set out notifications. And so you get to start to create content not only in those other systems, but particularly as it relates to traditional supporting language. This stuff will all live in SharePoint. You enjoy all those out-of-the-box features that I referenced previously. And so here's an example of word snippets that could be consumed. I don't think our particular example today is going to do that, but I just want to point that out. As well as just leveraging good old list items. So, for instance, what are the services offerings that somebody might want to consume? Just maintained in a list. Client name inside CRM, maybe some supporting financial information in SQL. But again, just using SharePoint, we're able to start to at least create the underlying verbose information that would have to feed a proposal. So with that, we have a couple of different templates. What's great about this is that as you log in, I can share this as well. I'll log out for a moment. Right now, I'm logged in as myself. Single sign-on is supported, by the way, for those of you who are about to ask. And so if I log in as, I have a very secure password. If I log in as the Joe persona, which would be my main persona, you'll see recent projects that I've just worked on. And I can say, you know what, I got to go in and modify this statement of work for the Siegel group. Let me just open it up. And that answer file will bring me right back to where I was within the wizard and allow me to modify and re-output. If I go in as somebody else, I'm going to see different files that were created by this persona. So you have a way to keep track of your own projects that is based upon your login, and again, single sign-on with Active Directory is supported. So let me go back in as myself. With this, we have different types of documents. These are our internal ones that we use. Let me start with a statement of advice, and then we'll get into some of the underlying mechanics momentarily. So I'm working remotely, so my connectivity is not so great right now. Sorry. Apologize. Give me 1 second. This is not our fault. I forgot. IE 11 is unkind. I have one of those bloody automatic updates that don't throw me. My apologies. Oops. I'm all thumbed. And by the way, you can't blame Intelledox with this. We found features in 2010 that aren't so thrilled with the IE 11 either. Word of caution from my IT director friends out there. Okie dokie. All right, so now I got an appropriate login. And I just messed that up. Thank you. Home. Thank you. Okay, apologize for all that, folks. Okie dokie. So I'm going to just scroll that open a little bit so you can see better. Let me go to my statement of advice. Which is not rendering. Let me go to a different example. Sorry. Give me 1 second, folks. I just got to check something. Ah, there we go. So sorry. Okay. So this is our statement of advice. It defaults to today's date. And you're going to see we're going to have a nice, like I said, I have internet connectivity issues where I'm at right now, so I apologize for that. But with that, we're going to go through the wizard. If it's a new client, we're going to have the opportunity to capture this information and write it back. If it's an existing client, we're going to have the opportunity to pull information back from CRM, and we go in and we can select any one of these clients. Okay? I'm going to say new client for now. Put my date of birth. Go back in history, folks. You will now know. 162. Oops, what did I do? I know when I do that. Or just let me do this the old-fashioned way. Not 1920s, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, and I'll put an address. Make up an address. I do live in the Bronx, though. Put my former zip code. And I'm going to click Next. And what you're seeing here is we're just capturing information. In this instance, it would have written back to the database. If it was a new client, we would be able to capture that. And then standard questions. Married, 111, 111. And do note that tomorrow we're going to show you how to secure against fields like Social Security numbers and the like, so they're not. I'm in great shape, but I am a smoker. I'm going to leave that at no. I'm going to keep clicking along. Free seeking device, wants money. And here we are able to add long-term steady growth. You're allowed, you also can add repeating fields. So in this instance, if somebody wants a statement of advice on a number of things, short-term capital, sorry, I'm also blind as a bat. You'll also be able to import fields into these sections as well. And Clinton will talk about some of the plumbing. So family's income needs, I don't know, it's New York. So, yes. some values in. You can also preview the document as you're going along. It's a pretty lengthy document, so I do apologize as I type through things. Yes, children, yes, other expenses, cats, existing cover, no. Make up some numbers. Let me preview this for you, and just a couple of things while we're in here. I'm going to save this so you can save this. So you're running through this for a long time. You're going, I really don't have time to finish this. I can save this now and come back in and pick it up at any time. I can also preview the document. This takes a second to render. And with this, I just go to that file. I can open it. And again, I haven't finished it. I've saved it. I'm allowed to look at it whenever I want. And right now, just on those fields that I've answered, here we go. So what's our advice? We recommend. Is this advice appropriate? And so based upon that wizard, here's my date. Oops, come back. Here's the date. Marital status, married. My health is great. I am a smoker. Here's a fake social security number. On and on and on we go. And these were the values that I just entered in there, dumped right out to Word. I go, okay, that's great. It's looking good. And then with that, I can go in. If I want, I can finish sections of it. So I just don't want to sit here and click things. And what you'll notice is that once I said yes to these things, please note that when I click next, who is the owner, et cetera, and so forth, I'm prompted for additional information. If I go back to this field and I deselect, because this is an intelligent wizard, notice over here on the left, these areas are now going away. And when I click next now, I will not be prompted. So again, a dynamic wizard based upon conditions and business rules that have been presented. Dollars to be invested by client, I don't know, make it $100,000. I just want to finish this up so we can start to discuss some of the underlying plumbing and design. And say yes to everything here. Almost there, folks. And here is the advice. Copper futures. Biotech. And let's say index fund. And here I could add something verbose. So the spell check just said hello to me there, by the way. Supports your standard rich text editors and such. Almost there, folks. And then appendices. Appendices are great. You know, if you want to include a taxation dependency, you're actually just going to go in and you'll be able to select existing information. If not, it won't be produced. Let's do that. And this is the thing I love. Would you like to save this for later? So you make this your first draft. It's going to dump into SharePoint. We send it around, whatever it may be, and we decide we wanted to add entire other sections, remove sections. Let me generate this document. There we go. And by the way, if I wanted to continue, I'd actually be able to go back and pick up my recent file on statement of advice. Let me bring you back to SharePoint, just so you see where it lives. And what you will see is this new statement of advice created with today's date. I'm going to open it up. Slide it on over, and there we go. Is our copper. My misspellings as well, Biotech Index 1. And so this is a wizard that prompted you through, supplied the available language, and was able to turn this out fairly quickly. Now, what I'd like to do at this point is two things. One is just let me bring you to a quick view of what's under the hood. And with that, also start to open this up for Q&A for Clinton, because I'm sure at this point you're going to have questions as to what can you do, what's under the hood, how are the forms designed. So with that, whoops, I'm not VPN'd in, that's a problem. Let me turn this over to a little bit of Q&A. And Clinton, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you have an environment where you can show some of the under the hood, I'd like to give you screen control so that if people ask a question and you want to illustrate something on the fly, if that would work for you. Just to show some of the some of the back end.
Yeah, no problems, Joe. I can do that.
All right, so Ricky, if you would give Clinton control, and Ricky, if you would also introduce the concept of Q&A, and then while you're gathering some questions and answers, Clinton, you could just sort of do a high-level guided tour of the back end.
Okay, folks, if you go to your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll see a tab for questions. In there, just type away any questions, and we'll get them answered for you right away.
Okay, so I guess as a wrap-up of what's actually happening in the background is that at the core of Intelledox is actually an XML rules engine. And so that rules engine essentially needs a way to build out not only that eForm mapping capability, but also the ability for somebody to map that information that is captured from the user into the resultant document. So whether it is one document or multiples, the example that Joe's got here of a statement of advice may actually be wrapped up in a separate PDF letter addressed to the particular client, and both of those things may actually be attached to an email that may also be designed and generated within Intelledox. So the interface that you've seen this whole time has been called Infinity Produce, and that's the end user interface where you actually kick things off. There's actually also an administration interface that allows you to actually connect to these data sources. So there's a level of abstraction there between what is actually occurring on the design side to how you might actually connect to an actual particular system. So what you're seeing on screen in the background is actually the administrative interface where I actually can connect to these data sources and manage my reusable content. And then on the other side, we'll see the Infinity Design Platform, which is actually where we create and manage those rules. And it's in building out the rules in which we dynamically generate the form. So it's that input and that eForm that gets generated automatically, and then it maps in that information into the resultant document.
Do we have any questions, Ricky?
Nothing so far.
Okay.
Yes, nothing so far.
Okay. You know, and obviously, folks, if you think of questions, post, please don't be shy, emails. But we do encourage you. I mean, any questions you have, please ask us as to how we got here on the form, or any of its capabilities, or any of the particular use cases you might be considering for your own environment, so that we can both illustrate and speak to our experiences therein.
Okay, we got one question here. What about a bulk generation?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that we've seen so far has been just about that single document. It's been user-driven, so more of an ad hoc document or something that you've kicked on a particular process. But that exact structure can be reused in a bulk environment, so there would be no interface. You know, whether it's run on a schedule or actually being driven out of another system that's doing that scheduling, is as the information comes into Intelledox, whether it's whole, so it's all of the data has already been preset, and it's actually just to Intelledox to merge that document, merge that information, and assess the business rules based on the data, or it may actually just be partial. It may actually just be a kind of like a batch number and information that gets pulled together. So to give you an example, let me actually run one up and show you that bulk example, because it's kind of the visualization of that process that probably makes the most sense. Let me bring this back up on the screen. Okay, so that should be coming back up on the screen now. And what you're seeing on the right-hand side is my output folder. So this is actually where all the documents are actually going to be generated. And on the left-hand is my inbound folder. So if you think of the scenario where I've actually got that information and I actually want to punch through the data, let me show you what the data looks like. Right, so this is actually just a flat file piece of information about driving infringements and areas and things like this. And as I drop this this sample data into my inbound folder, if this were running on a schedule, nightly, or nightly on a particular day, what you'll see happen is that on the right-hand side, documents will start to get populated based on their generation, and it's all based on the data in that particular sample file. And on the left-hand side, it will kind of we'll see the sample data disappear and start the process. We can only hope.
And one other thing I just want to point out too is that what's really slick about this, one of the demonstrations we have come there, they got populated now, is you can output to PowerPoint as well. So we have one use case where if it's a verbose sales proposal, you get a Word doc. If it's a shorthand to an existing client, we can output to PowerPoint. So the flexibility of the product is just something I just wanted to underscore, that the output even itself can be chosen based upon the wizard. Sorry about that. I realized my mic was away. Any other questions, Rick?
Yes. Next question is, does it import from XML?
Absolutely. That is one of the simplest structures when it comes to this sort of thing. So whether the data is coming in based on an XML schema, based on a web service call, a SQL query, a CSV file, a spreadsheet, basically kind of anything you can really think of, we can use that information as part of the transformation, and multiples. So you may actually have an enterprise web service that provides you the detail about something, and you need to seed it with a web, with some arguments to one of the methods. So you would actually you might pass that information from another system and actually connect the two using Intelledox. And as far as the XML goes, it may actually be quite a complex structure with lots of repeating elements and any number of them. and we can very efficiently extract that information for use within the resultant document. And just a final point on the XML, we actually also have XML as an output type. So not only are we delivering Word docs or PDFs or emails, but you can actually map to any XML schema. So if there's any particular XML schemas that you need to produce either as a part of a data exchange or sort of any other process that you have, you can actually use our same mapping techniques where we're mapping to areas within a Word document to actually map directly to XML nodes, whether they're repeating or whether they're static nodes, based on a schema as well, which is an interesting use case. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, everybody.